It's another HP Compaq.
Ooh.
I got this puppy before they tossed it out at work. It was reported that the hard drive had failed, so they were getting rid of it. I remembered when it was installed, so it's been around a really long time. And it hasn't been cleaned out in a really long time either. Look at those dust bunnies. Yuck. From the motherboard sticker, I determined that this was powered by an Asus motherboard. And we have an inspection stamp on the case, dating back to 2003, maybe? After cleaning, I slapped on a power supply tester because I don't trust power supplies. And it looks like it's completely dead. So I hooked up a spare power supply just to the motherboard, and I got it to boot. Pentium 4, 512 megs of memory? Yeah, this is an oldie all right. Putting in a spare disk drive, I loaded up Puppy Linux. Even from a DVD drive, it loads fairly fast, and it installed without much of a fuss. Now this is where things get complicated. The power supply is a non-standard compact thingy. And as you can see, it doesn't quite match the mounting holes of your standard power supply. Proprietary CPU heatsink attached to the case. Proprietary can't remove rear I/O shield. How annoying. However, the motherboard is close enough to a standard micro ATX board, so it's time to do a motherboard swap. Since the System Max has a dead motherboard, we'll use that case. It fits just fine. The original CPU heatsink bolted onto the case, so we'll need another mounting solution. Fortunately, I was able to find some nuts that fit the bolts for the CPU heatsink, and I reattached it to the motherboard. And who needs a back I/O shield anyways? With some RAM scavenged from the System Max, I upped the system memory to a whopping 2 gigs. With such an old system, and being restricted to a 32-bit operating system, let's install something light for an OS. Like Puppy Linux. This one has some compatibility with Ubuntu, so let's try it out. It only takes about 45 seconds to go from power on to a full desktop, and that's pretty snappy for an old system. Like most Linux distros, Puppy comes with word processing, graphics programs, and internet browsers, all pre-installed. They tend to be slimmer and quirkier than the versions of programs that you normally see. But the available Puppy packages are rather restricted, and those available from the Ubuntu repositories don't always work. With a single core processor, 2 gigs of memory, and onboard graphics, it probably can't handle something like YouTube. Actually, that's not too shabby. Puppy is quirky and odd, but fast. So let's install something full-bodied, like Linux Mint for Debian. Here we get a fully featured and good-looking system with the full Debian repositories to work with. Debian is handy for really old systems, and although it takes longer to boot, it's worth it. So with the motherboard, DVD drive, RAM, power supply, and hard drive in its new home, we have raised another system from the dead. Lightweight Linux distributions can breathe new life into older systems, but with the limited CPU in this box, it can only handle a 32-bit operating system. These are starting to get harder to find as more OSs move completely to 64-bit. Still, one more computer has been saved from the landfill, at least for now. Remember to investigate and try new things. And as always, stay curious.